We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Millions left to know as total solar eclipse sweeps Mexico, US and Canada. North Americans celebrate with chairs, music and matrimony. The first total solar eclipse to darken the continent in 7 years. Israel PM Netanyahu sets date for Rafah offensive as Gaza truce talks remain deadlocked. UN Security Council refers Palestine's full UN membership bid to committee. Indo-Pacific security concerns and an upgrade in defense ties in focus as Japanese PM Fumio Kishida arrives in the US, will become the second Japanese leader to address a joint meeting of Congress on Thursday. Does government inaction on climate change violates the human rights? All eyes on European Court of Human Rights as it prepares to give rulings on 3 separate cases, the verdicts to set a precedent for future litigation. Data adds urgency to act on climate change. March 2024 is world's warmest on record, capping a 10-month streak in which every month set a new temperature record. A rare total solar eclipse has carved a path across North America, traveling across Mexico, the US and into Canada. Some locations experience nearly 4.5 minutes of totality when the moon completely eclipses the sun, bringing a disquieting darkness to the day. Tony Watman has more from Austin, Texas, where cloudy skies couldn't dampen the festive mood.
It was an absolute nail-biter down to the final moments. The moon's slow eclipse of the sun, mostly obscured by thick clouds. But then, at the most crucial moment, a brief breakthrough. The golden ring of the total solar eclipse visible in the sky. Wow. Austin was enveloped in darkness for nearly 2 minutes.
It's like turning the light on and off quickly, so yeah, it still feels like I'm in a dream. Literally, like right now, did I just wake up from something? So it's wonderful.
I think it was just kind of a spiritual thing, you know, that it's not science, I know, but also it's, you know, the whole universe, everything. So I thought it was great.
This was really a once-in-a-lifetime experience for many of the people here because the last time there was a total solar eclipse in Austin was over 600 years ago, and the next one is not expected for another 300.
The rarity of the event attracting solar enthusiasts from around the world, including this family from Chile. It's their 4th eclipse, but the experience still brings the mother to tears.
Yeah, she's very grateful to the universe and God about having the chance to witness this with my dad and me.
Some solar enthusiasts opted for a truly unique experience.
We're going to make a full left turn.
Tracking the path of totality 30,000 feet in the air.
So pretty!
One couple even getting engaged mid-flight. Their excitement still palpable back on Earth.
I could never come up with anything else as special to propose to her, and I wanted it to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So it just seemed like perfect to combine it.
There is a total solar eclipse somewhere on Earth about every 18 months, but rarely does it carve a path along a long, continuous stretch of land, giving scientists the opportunity to do research they wouldn't normally be able to do.
The total solar eclipse has historically been an incredible time for big leaps forward in astronomical research, not only studying the sun itself, but even there was a historic expedition to verify Einstein's theory of relativity soon after he predicted it using the total solar eclipse.
The eclipse is also a poignant reminder of our small place in the universe, literally standing in the shadow of the moon. A brief but wondrous experience. Tony Waterman in Austin, reporting for DD India.
Israel has set a date for its forces to enter Rafah in southern Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday said he had received a detailed report on the talks in Cairo. He said Israel is working round the clock to achieve a complete victory over Hamas.
I received a detailed report on the talks in Cairo. We are constantly working to achieve our goals. First and foremost, the release of all our hostages and achieving a complete victory over Hamas. This victory requires entry into Rafah and the elimination of the terrorist battalions there. It will happen. There is a date.
Now, Hamas has rejected an Israeli ceasefire proposal made at talks in Cairo. Israeli and Hamas officials said no significant progress has been made in the latest round of Gaza truce talks in Cairo, attended by representatives from mediators Egypt, Qatar and the United States. A senior Hamas leader told a news agency that Hamas has rejected the latest Israeli proposals. Earlier on Monday, Egypt state media said that some progress had been made in the Cairo talks. The United States said it has not been briefed on a date for Israel's offensive on Rafah. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters at a regular news briefing that Washington does not want to see a full-scale Rafah offensive. And the United Nations Security Council on Monday referred the Palestinian Authority's application to become a full member of the world body to the Committee on the Admission of New Members. The proposal for the referral made by Ambassador Vanessa Frazier of Malta Security Council President for April received no objections from the body's 15 members. Palestine is a non-member observer state of the United Nations.
The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 on the agenda. In a letter dated 2nd April 2024 addressed to the Secretary General, the permanent observer of the Observer State of Palestine referred to the application of the State of Palestine for membership in the United Nations contained in document S/2011/592, dated 23rd September 2011, and requested that renewed consideration be given to that application by the Security Council during the month of April 2024. That letter has been circulated in document S/2024/286.
And restating India's position on Gaza crisis, Indian ambassador to UN Ruchira Kamboj condemned the Israel attack on October 7. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly, she reaffirmed India's support for two-state solution.
India's position on the conflict has been clearly articulated on more than one occasion by our leadership. There are 4 key points here. 1. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas has led to a large-scale loss of civilian lives, especially women and children. The resulting humanitarian crisis is simply unacceptable. 2. The terror attacks on Israel on 7 October were shocking, and they deserve our unequivocal condemnation. There can be no justification for terrorism and hostage-taking. India has a long-standing and uncompromising position against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, and we demand the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. 3. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire. It is imperative that humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza be scaled up immediately in order to avert a further deterioration in the situation. 4. My leadership has repeatedly emphasized that only a two-state solution achieved through direct and meaningful negotiations between both sides on final status issues will deliver an enduring peace.
And the US military said on Monday it destroyed air defense and drone systems of Houthi forces in the area of the Red Sea with no injuries or damage reported to commercial US and coalition ships. The US Central Command said on X its forces had destroyed an air defense system with 2 missiles ready to launch, a ground control station in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen, and 1 unmanned aerial system launched by the Houthis from Yemen over the Red Sea. Houthi forces in Yemen said on Sunday they had launched rockets and drones at British, US and Israeli ships, the latest in a campaign of attacks on shipping in support of Palestinians in the Gaza war. Houthi attacks have disrupted global shipping through the Suez Canal, forcing firms to reroute to longer and more expensive journeys around southern Africa. The United States and Britain have launched strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen. French President Emmanuel Macron met with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak via video conference on Monday to mark the 120th anniversary of the Entente Cordiale. The Entente Cordiale, dating back to 1904, put a stop to centuries of military rivalries between France and Britain to see the two European powers fight on the same side during two world wars. The two leaders were expected to speak of bilateral relations a year after a French-British summit in Paris and before a meeting of the European political community, which will be held in Britain on July 18th. British and French Guards swapped roles for changing of the guard ceremonies on Monday, marking 120th anniversary of the Entente Cordiale. Grenadiers of the British Royal Household and the French Guard marched at the Élysée Presidential Palace in Paris. French President Emmanuel Macron and British Ambassador to France, Mina Rawlings, watched British Guards taking part in the ceremony. Signed in 1904, the Entente Cordiale Accord is a series of agreements which settled former disputes and significantly improved relations between the countries. This is the first time in the history of the Élysée Palace that foreign troops were invited to take part in the military ritual. French President Emmanuel Macron met Serbian President Alexander Vučić in Paris on Monday to hold talks about European defense and security. The leaders were set to discuss Serbian membership to the European Union and France's support to Serbia in the face of its ongoing conflicts with Kosovo. Macron said Serbia has an important role to play in strengthening the strategic autonomy of the European Union. Speaking in joint statements alongside Macron, Vučić said new elections must be held in the 4 Serb-majority municipalities in northern Kosovo. US President Joe Biden announced on Monday his plans to ease student debt that would benefit at least 23 million Americans, addressing a key issue for young voters whose support he needs as he seeks re-election in November. The plans include cancelling up to $20,000 of accrued and capitalized interest for borrowers regardless of income, which Biden's administration estimates would eliminate the entirety of that interest for 23 million borrowers.
Will propose a new rule to cancel student debt for Americans facing financial hardships, from child care to health care, to prevent them from paying back their loans. And over the coming months, the Department of Education will propose and then implement these plans. And starting this fall, we plan to deliver up to $20,000 in interest relief to over 20 million borrowers and full forgiveness for millions more.
Now, in a big shock to the United States, former President Donald Trump, a New York judge has denied his bid to delay his April 15 criminal trial. The former U.S. president is contending with allegations that he paid hush money to an adult film star while attempting to have the case transferred from Manhattan. Associate Justice Lisbeth Gonzalez issued her decision shortly after a half-hour hearing at the Appellate Division in Manhattan, a mid-level state appeals court. Trump, the Republican candidate challenging Democratic President Joe Biden in the November 5 U.S. election, has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records. The trial of 29 individuals charged in connection with the worldwide Panama Papers money laundering scandal began in Panama City on Monday, including the founders of law firm Mossack Fonseca and company summoned. Jurgen Mossack and Ramon Fonseca, whose firm was central to the 2016 offshore financial services scandal, are among those facing charges. The maximum sentence for money laundering is of 12 years, and the trial is expected to continue until April 26th. We'll step into a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. EU agriculture ministers to meet on Tuesday to discuss capping agricultural imports from Ukraine. The Mozambique government will meet on Tuesday to assess the situation after 100 killed in ferry incident, 10 people rescued, 20 still missing. In an unprecedented move, French and British troops swapped roles to take part in ceremonies outside the palaces of other countries' head of state to celebrate 120 years since the Entente Cordiale.
Three union territories go to the polls in Phase 1. Lakshadweep, Andaman Nicobar and Puducherry have seen some robust voting in elections. Narrow margin of victory or a highway contest on the cards. Will the trend continue? We dissect what matters for the people in the region on the Great Indian Election, Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT, only on DD India.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida arrived in Washington on Monday, becoming the first Japanese leader to make a state visit to the United States in 9 years. During his visit, Kishida will hold a bilateral summit with US President Joe Biden. He will also address a joint meeting of Congress on Thursday. Kishida will be the second Japanese leader to address the joint meeting of Congress after his predecessor Shinzo Abe gave a speech in 2015. Kishida will also join the first ever summit of the US, Japanese and Philippine leaders in Washington. All right, let's go across to DD India's Laura Westbrook. She is joining us live from Hong Kong. Laura, Fumio Kishida is the first Japanese leader to make a state visit since Shinzo Abe in 2015. Tell us what's expected from the visit and also the significance.
Yes, the US says this is all about strengthening ties with Japan and showcasing Japan's global leadership role. The US and Japan are also expected to announce the biggest upgrade in their military alliance since 1960. The US is expected to restructure its military command in Japan. The US has some 50,000 troops in Japan. And being a state visit, there will also be a state dinner of around 200 guests. And that will also give a chance for Kishida to boost his popularity at home. As you mentioned, he will be addressing Congress, being the first leader to do so since 2015. And that really is going to be a chance for him to address both sides of the aisle ahead of a US presidential election in November. He's likely to talk about how Japan is a global partner of the US and that Japan is willing to take a bigger role in issues like defense, security, and space. And he's expected to also go to North Carolina, where he will be visiting some Japanese countries there and trying to drum up some investment. So a very busy trip.
Very busy trip. But Laura, will this meeting be successful in deterring China in the region?
Yeah, there is growing concern about China, Russia, and North Korea, which is why defense and security is being featured so highly in this summit. For Japan, peace in Taiwan is also an issue that it says that is essential to national security. China claims Taiwan as its own territory and doesn't rule out taking it by force if necessary. There is also concern about China growing closer to Russia amidst the war with Ukraine. And Japan also has talked about its concern. It looks at Japan looks at China's growing military activities as a top security threat as well. And this visit also culminates in the first ever trilateral summit between Japan, US, and the Philippines. And that is also showcasing support for the Philippines amid growing tensions in the South China Sea. We've seen recently clashes between the Philippines and China when the Philippines have sent in resupply missions to its forces, clashing with Chinese vessels in the South China Sea. This is such an important maritime sea lanes, and Japan and other parts of the world are dependent on those sea lanes being open. So it really is also in Japan's interest to keep those sea lanes open as well.
Laura, also in the schedule of Fumio Kishida will hold a bilateral summit also with US President Joe Biden. Tell us what are the summit's main issues?
Well, as I said, the big focus is security and defense. They will be announcing that big upgrade to the security alliance since 1960, and that is all around looking at the growing, expanding influence of China in the Indo-Pacific region. And with the Philippines also joining this trilateral summit on Thursday, that also is showing that the focus of these countries is really trying to combat what they see as an expanding influence of China in the region.
All right, Laura, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your views. Moving on to our next story now, Australia downplayed reports Japan could soon join its AUKUS security pact with Britain and the United States, saying on Tuesday any incorporation would be on a project-by-project basis as differences emerged within the pact over adding new members. Prime Minister of Australia Anthony Albanese praised Japan as a close partner but said there were no plans to add a fourth member to the pact. He was addressing a news conference hours after the AUKUS defence ministers announced they would consider working with Japan on military technology projects. An AUKUS formed by the three countries in 2021 is part of efforts to push back against China's growing power in the Indo-Pacific region. All right, moving further, the Mozambican government will meet on Tuesday to assess the situation after a ferry boat sank off the northern coast. Over 100 people killed in the incident, 10 rescued, while nearly 20 others were still missing. An official from the country's Maritime Transport Institute said the vessel carrying 130 passengers was an overloaded fishing boat and was not licensed to transport people. It was ferrying people from Lunga in Nampula province to Mozambique Island on Sunday. Initial reports indicated that the ferry was hit by a tidal wave. The passengers were reportedly fleeing a cholera outbreak. Mozambique's President Filipe Nyusi said he was saddened by the tragedy and directed the Southern African nation's transport minister to visit the island for the investigation. As gang violence grapples Haiti, leaders have approved a deal for a temporary government to steer the Caribbean nation out of gang-fueled chaos. Though the details must first be approved by the outgoing authorities, late on Sunday, the Transition Council members submitted their plan to CARICOM, the regional organization for the Caribbean. A 9-member council comprising 2 observers and 7 voting members is established under the accord, whose purpose is to prepare the ground for presidential elections by the beginning of 2026. The new government will take over for departing Prime Minister Ariel Henry, who tendered his resignation on March 11 following a spike in gang-related violence in Haiti. Now, Ukrainian Air Force commander said Ukraine's air defense systems destroyed all 20 attack drones that Russia launched targeting Ukraine on Tuesday. He added that the drones were destroyed over the regions of southwestern and eastern Ukraine. Further, he mentioned that Russia also launched 4 missiles from the S-300 surface-to-air missile systems. And EU agriculture ministers are meeting on Tuesday to discuss capping agricultural imports from Ukraine. Amid pressure from farming groups, member countries have agreed to impose restrictions on imports, which farmers said were flooding European markets and hurting their income. DD India's Ishan Garg has more from Brussels.
European Union agriculture ministers is expected to focus on fine-tuning a deal that caps agricultural imports from Ukraine. Last month, EU ambassadors had decided to widen the basket of products classified as sensitive items. The revised list now includes poultry, eggs and sugar, among other items. The new safeguards mean these products will face additional tariffs if their import exceeds the average volume of the past 3 years. Now, agriculture ministers are likely to push towards a finished proposal that can then be sent off to the European Parliament for a final sign-off. There has been increased pressure on EU member states to clamp down on Ukrainian goods as farmers across the bloc have been protesting for months. Now, France and Poland particularly have pushed for tougher import restrictions. These could cost Ukraine 330 million euros. And it stands opposed to the bloc's promise of supporting Ukraine through its war with Russia. Reports say the EU Council, currently headed by Belgium, is moving its position closer to that of the European Parliament. The idea is to get the restrictions approved there before the parliamentary elections in June. Now, members of the European Parliament fear that if the farmers' concerns are not addressed, they could vote for far-right parties in 2 months' time. EU member states' representatives are expected to negotiate with the Parliament in the next few days. The Belgian presidency says it hopes the Parliament will act on them swiftly. If approved there, it will be a major win for European farming groups. Ishan Garg in Brussels, reporting for DD India.
Extreme weather has caused havoc in many countries around the world over the past several months, with record temperatures sparking wildfires, water shortages and a rise in heat-related issues. Now, the governments will be feeling the heat on Tuesday as the European Court of Human Rights will rule an unprecedented verdict in 3 separate court cases on the climate change. Crucially, the verdicts could force them to adopt more ambitious climate policies. It will be the first time the court will issue a ruling on climate change. While several European states, including France, have already been condemned by domestic courts for not fulfilling commitments against global warming, the ECHR could go further and make clear new fundamental rights. The court heard all 3 cases in 2023, and all 3 cases are being decided by the court's top bench, the Grand Chamber, which only hear cases that raise serious questions about the interpretation of the 1953 Convention on Human Rights. Now, the past 10 months have seen monthly temperature records broken, with the most recent March on record being the warmest on record. The Climate Change Monitoring Service of the European Union reports that when compared to the equivalent month in prior years, each of the last 10 months has been the hottest on record worldwide. The 12 months ending with March also ranked as the planet's hottest ever recorded 12-month period. From April 2023 to March 2024, the global average temperature was 1.58 degrees Celsius above the average in the 1850-900 pre-industrial period. While C3S Deputy Director Samantha Burgess said that the long-term trend with exceptional records has them very concerned. The frequency of El Nino occurrences in southern Africa surpassed the norm, resulting in erratic weather patterns that significantly impact food security, particularly in Zimbabwe. Southern Africa is reeling from its worst drought in years, owing to a combination of naturally occurring El Nino, when an abnormal warming of the waters in the eastern Pacific radiates heat into the air, leading to hotter weather across the world, and higher average temperatures produced by greenhouse gas emissions. Weather across the world produced record-breaking extremes in 2023 as climate change amplified the impacts of El Nino. And one of the worst floods in decades have hit a string of Russian regions in the Ural Mountains and Siberia, alongside parts of neighboring Kazakhstan in recent days. Floodwaters triggered by melting snow have affected at least 10,000 homes and forcing thousands of people to flee. Over 15 schools had been flooded. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin declared an emergency in the Orenburg region after the Ural River, Europe's third longest river, swelled several meters in hours and burst through a dam embankment in the city of Orsk. Saudi Arabia announced on Monday that the holiday of Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of the Ramadan fast, will begin on Wednesday. Eid al-Fitr or Ramadan Eid marks the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. Ramadan is a time of increased worship, charity and good deeds. Eid al-Fitr means the feast or festival of breaking the fast. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Election fever grips India with parties scrambling to secure victory. India's PM Narendra Modi to hold rallies and road shows in 3 Indian states.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Now, recap of what we have done so far. Millions left in awe as total solar eclipse sweeps Mexico. US and Canada, North Americans celebrate with cheers, music and matrimony. The first total solar eclipse to darken the continent in 7 years. Israel PM Netanyahu sets date for Rafah offensive as Gaza truce talks remain deadlocked. UN Security Council refers Palestine's full UN membership bid to committee. Indo-Pacific security concerns and an upgrade in defense ties in focus as Japanese PM Fumio Kishida arrives in the US, will become the second Japanese leader to address a joint meeting of Congress on Thursday. Does government inaction on climate change violates the human rights? All eyes on European Court of Human Rights as it prepares to give rulings on 3 separate cases, verdicts to set a precedent for future litigation. Data adds urgency to act on climate change. March 2024 is world's warmest on record, capping a 10-month streak in which every month set a new temperature record. Now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. With polling just over 10 days away for India's Lok Sabha elections 2024, parties are in full campaign mode and intensifying their efforts to secure victory in the upcoming general elections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit 3 Indian states to hold public rallies on Tuesday. The Prime Minister will hold public rallies in Uttar Pradesh, Pilibhit, along with Madhya Pradesh's Balaghat today. PM Modi will also conduct a roadshow in Tamil Nadu's Chennai and address a public meeting in Vellore Lok Sabha constituency. Earlier, PM Modi attended public meetings in Chhattisgarh's Basta and Maharashtra Chandrapur district on Monday. All right, let's go across to DD India's Aditya Srivastav. He is joining us live from Balaghat in Madhya Pradesh. Good morning, Aditya. PM Modi's second visit to the state in 3 days. And in 2019, the BJP had won 28 of the 29 Lok Sabha constituencies here in Madhya Pradesh. And yes, they would like to continue with the same momentum.
BJP is trying to win all 29 seats in this election, in general election. We can say in the last 3 days, there is a second visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in MP. One, as we saw in the last 2 days, 2 days before, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took a book, the road show, massive road show in Jabalpur. There are a lot of party workers, a lot of people are attending the road show. They want to see a Prime Minister on the road. In Balaghat also, this Balaghat is a Naxal affected area. So we can say the security point of view, the security is also tight for this rally. But we can expect that Prime Minister will also compare the data of UPA government and the NDA government, because before 2014 there are long time the UPA government working in our country. So and after the 2014 last 10 years, what Narendra Modi government did to the people of Naxal affected area, to the people of tribal area, Prime Minister can give data through this rally. If we talk about the Congress, Rahul Gandhi is also participated in the rallies in the tribal area like Shahdol, Sivni. He also gave some guarantees to the people of Madhya Pradesh.
Aditya, also you're saying it's a Naxal affected area. Balaghat is locked in a triangular fight also between the BJP, Congress and the BSP. Tell us, what are the major issues and how crucial is Madhya Pradesh for the BJP particularly?
Major issues are, the employment. Congress raising the issue of employment in this area. Congress raising the issue of, the gig worker social security issue. Congress raising also a farmer loan waiving issue in this area. But the reality is that last 8 to 10 years, especially in the Naxal affected area, especially in the tribal area, people get something through the government. People get something through the schemes of the government. So people are saying some other things. Congress are saying some other things. But what voters did, what voters want, what are in the voters in the mind, we can get after the results. Let's say 4th of June.
And also, Aditya, what time is Prime Minister expected to come and people ready to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
We can expect around 2:30 p.m. We can expect that Prime Minister will be on this stage. You can saw a huge stage made by the Bharatiya Janata Party and give the slogan of "Ab ki baar 400 par." This is a confidence. We can say this is the confidence of Bharatiya Janata Party that in this election. So Vijay Shankanath rally, they also name Vijay Shankanath. The winning approach we can saw the Bharatiya Janata Party in this rally.
All right, Aditya, we'll leave it there, but we'll keep coming to you during the day. Thank you. Meanwhile, India's Home Minister Amit Shah will hold a public rally in Assam on Tuesday. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will visit Arunachal Pradesh, Namsai district to campaign for Bharatiya Janata Party today. Senior citizens and specially able people now have the option to cast their votes from the comfort of their homes for the Lok Sabha elections 2024. West Tripura District Election Officer Vishal Kumar announced that individuals aged 85 and above and specially able people can cast their votes from their homes starting Tuesday using a vote from home facility. The polling stations will be movable to their homes along with polling officers, presiding officers, representatives from all the candidates and security officers. He stated that the Election Commission of India has the motto that every vote matters. He added a list of these voters have been prepared and requisition forms have been received from them by March 25th. From 9th April onwards, their votes will be collected from their homes. And 39 Lok Sabha seats from Tamil Nadu will go to polls on April 19. Unlike in 2019, Tamil Nadu in 2024 seems poised for a three-cornered contest with the ruling DMK-led front remaining cohesive, the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance roping in one more party, that is the PMK, and the AIA-DMK being left with smaller organizations.
Located in the extreme southern part of India, the peninsular state of Tamil Nadu is home to Kanyakumari or Cape Comorin, its southernmost tip, which is the location of the intersection of the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and the Indian Ocean. The state, with a rich Dravidian history, also shares its borders with three South Indian states, Kerala, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh. Spread in an area of over 130,000 square kilometers, Tamil Nadu is a bouquet of ancient Indian culture and UNESCO World Heritage Sites. From Mamallapuram's Shore Temple to Thanjavu's Airavateshwara Temple to the Nilgiri Mountain Railway, the state has a wide variety to offer. The state is also well known for its vibrant and emphatic political colors, which are becoming evident on the state's political canvas. Tamil Nadu has 39 Lok Sabha or lower house seats in the Indian Parliament, all of which are scheduled for a single-phase election on April 19th. The state has a total voter population of 61.8 million, comprising 31.4 million women and over 30.3 million men. Over 8,200 voters in the state are from the third gender community. The state is currently governed by the Dravida Munnetra Kadagam or DMK, which bagged maximum seats in the 2021 assembly elections. Other political parties in the state are All India Anna Dravida Munnetra Kadagam or AIA-DMK, Indian National Congress, and several other parties like Patali Makkal Kachi or PMK, the Bharatiya Janata Party, Vidyuthalai Chiruthaigal Kachi or VCK, Communist Party of India, and Communist Party of India Marxist. In the 2019 general elections in Tamil Nadu, DMK Congress Alliance garnered majority of the seats, winning 38 of the total 39 seats. The state has a history of politics being swayed by cult figures and well-known actors like Rajnikant, the legendary M.G. Ramachandran, and J. Jayalalitha. Onlookers are now keenly watching how the national issues will play out in the minds of the Tamil Nadu voters this election season. Antra Sinha for DT India.
A number of women candidates grew 16-fold from 1957 to 2019. Women made up only 9% of Lok Sabha candidates in 2019. However, the number of women candidates has never crossed 1,000 in Lok Sabha elections. Parties claim they look at winnability when it comes to choosing candidates, but women in the election fray is our focus in this report as they continue to shape Indian democracy.
As India, the world's largest democracy, gears up for the upcoming general elections, the spotlight shines on the powerful participation of Indian women in shaping the nation's political landscape. From the beginning of the Constitution, Indian women have been granted the right to vote, which is a cornerstone of democracy. However, the actual turnout of women voters has often been lower than that of men. Various factors, including socio-economic issues, may have led to this situation. But now, the tide seems to be turning. The gender gap in voter turnout has significantly reduced in recent years, with 65.63% of women exercising their right to vote in the 2014 parliamentary elections, demonstrating the growing political involvement of Indian women. In 16 out of 29 states, more women turned out to vote than men, highlighting their substantial influence in shaping the nation's political landscape. In the 2019 Lok Sabha election, which was a historic moment in the country's post-independence era, 77 women were elected as members of Lok Sabha. Additionally, there are over 1.45 million or 46% women elected representatives in Panchayati Raj institutions, surpassing the mandatory representation of 33%. The 73rd and 74th Amendments 1992 to the Constitution of India have reserved 1/3 seats in the Panchayat and municipalities for women. India is presently one of the only 15 countries in the world with a woman head of state. Globally, India has the largest absolute number of elected women representatives in local governments. Also, for the first time, women voters outnumbered men in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Similarly, the participation of women in Indian politics is on the rise. On 19 September 2023, India's Prime Minister introduced the historic Nari Shakti Vandan Abhiniyam Women's Reservation Bill, which seeks to provide a 33% quota for women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. It can only come into effect after a delimitation based on a census conducted after the bill has been passed, with the next delimitation scheduled for 2026. As India prepares for another historic election, the women of this diverse and vibrant nation are set to make their voices heard, once again proving that they are an integral part of the democratic fabric of India. Sujata Lochab, DD India.
All right, time now for another short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Sumit Nagal create history, first Indian male to win main draw match at Monte Carlo Masters.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Indian Embassy in New York on Tuesday declared that a 25-year-old student from Hyderabad has been found dead. The Indian Embassy in a social media post said that it is anguished to learn that Mr. Mohammed Abdul Arfat, for whom search operation was underway, was found dead in Cleveland, Ohio. Condoling the death of Arfat, the embassy said it is in touch with local agencies to ensure thorough investigation into Mohammed Abdul Arfat's death. The embassy also extended all possible assistance to the bereaved family to transport the mortal remains of Arfat to India. He had moved to the US in 2023 for a master's at Cleveland State University. The foundation stone for the construction of the shdeing basic school building was laid in Nepal on a Nepal-India Development Cooperation project. The project is taken up as a high-impact community development project under an agreement between Government of India and Government of Nepal, being implemented through Shishlia Rural Municipality, Sanku Wasaba. The project is an important example of the robust development partnership between India and Nepal. Now let's take a look at other stories making news. The Delhi High Court is scheduled to pronounce its verdict on Chief Minister of Delhi Arvind Kejriwal's bail plea on Tuesday. The plea challenges his arrest by the Enforcement Directorate in the excise policy money laundering case. The bench of Justice Swarnakanta Sharma will head the verdict. As Hindus across India welcome the new year, renowned sand artist Doordarshan Patnaik marked the celebrations in a unique way. Patnaik created a 5-feet-high sand art of Lord Ram with installation of flowers at Puri beach in state of Odisha. He used about 4 tons of sand on it. The students also joined hands to complete the sculpture. Today marks the first day in the Hindu New Year. In North India, temples echoed with hymns to Lord Ram as devotees thronged to offer prayers early morning. And on the first day of the Hindu New Year, pilgrims from all over the country reached the Mata Vaishno Devi temple in India's Jammu. The temple consists of 96 feet long traditional cave with a gold-plated entrance. In southern India, New Year's Day is known as Ugadi. states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka and Goa mark Ugadi by drawing colourful patterns on the floor called mango leaf decorations and other traditions of gifts and charity. The month of April brings along a long list of New Years celebrated by different communities across the country, including the Hindu New Year, which is also celebrated as Gudi Padwa in Maharashtra. The festival, also known as Ugadi or Chaitra Shukla Pratipada, marks the beginning of the Hindu New Year. This auspicious day falls on the first day of the Hindu lunisolar calendar. DD India's Shyama Mishra has more in this report.
The celebration of Gudi Padwa holds profound cultural and traditional significance in the Indian state of Maharashtra. One of the most striking customs of this festival is the raising of the Gudi, a decorated pole with a bright cloth or sari, garland and a metal pot adorned with neem leaves, mango leaves and a coconut. The Gudi symbolizes victory and prosperity, signifying the victory of Lord Ram over Ravan and the commencement of a prosperous new year. Gudi Padwa is a time of renewal, not only in terms of calendar, but also in spiritual and personal spheres. It is an occasion for cultural festivities and social gatherings. Communities organize processions, popularly called Shobha Yatras, folk dances and musical performances to showcase their rich heritage and traditions. It serves as a platform for strengthening social bonds and fostering a sense of unity and belongingness among people. The festival of Gudi Padwa also carries agricultural significance. It marks the onset of the Rabi crop season, when farmers start ploughing their fields and sowing seeds. Thus, it is a time of hope and anticipation for a bountiful harvest in the coming months. In essence, Gudi Padwa is more than just a New Year celebration. It is a reflection of the cultural vibrancy, spiritual richness and agricultural prosperity of Indian society. Shyama Mishra reports for DD India.
On the occasion of the first day of the new year according to the Hindu calendar, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended warm greetings to people celebrating across the country with different names, traditions and ways the new year is known in India. PM wished every community celebrating a prosperous, healthy and happy new year. On to business news now. Industrial metals prices extended their gains on Tuesday with expectations of a worldwide manufacturing rebound. Malaysian shares crept up a little more cautiously ahead of this week's US inflation data and a crucial European Central Bank meeting. On Monday, data showed German industrial production rising more than expected in February. Last week, data showed US manufacturing growing for the first time in 1.5 years. China's manufacturing activity expanded for the first time in 6 months in March. For global stock markets, bonds and currencies, the main focus this week is on US inflation data due on Wednesday and the European Central Bank meeting on Thursday. Expectations for US rate cuts have been evaporating, and where in January markets had expected more than 150 basis points in cuts, investors now are not even sure of half that many. The Indian stock market achieved another milestone on Tuesday. For the first time, Bombay Stock Exchange Sensex hit the 75,000 mark. Both the frontline indices traded at record high levels in the opening trade on April 9, with the Nifty 50 surging above 22,700 level. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with IPL. After 2 losses on the trot, Chennai Super Kings returned to winning ways on Monday with a convincing 7-wicket win over Kolkata Knight Riders. Following a phenomenal bowling performance, CSK successfully chased down a modest target of 138, led by captain Ruturaj Gaikwad's impressive half-century. The home team sealed the win in just 17.4 overs. Talking about Tuesday's game, an inconsistent Punjab Kings will take on highly aggressive Sunrisers Hyderabad as the two teams clash in a mid-table battle in IPL. Both SRH and PBKS have 2 wins and 2 losses from the 4 matches to be tied with 2 other teams in the middle with 4 points, and they will be desperate to break out of the mid-table logjam first. Tennis now. Sumit Nagal created history as he became the first ever Indian male to record a main draw win at Monte Carlo Masters. He defeated Italy's Matteo Arnaldi in the first round on Monday. The unseeded 95th ranked Nagal became only the third Indian ever to feature in the main draw in Monte Carlo after Vijay Amritraj and Ramesh Krishnan. Nagal came from a set down to beat world number 35 Arnaldi 5-7, 6-2, 6-4 in 2 hours and 37 minutes. Nagal is also the first ever Indian to win an ATP Masters 1000 match on clay since the series began in 1990. The Indian will next face 7th seed Dane and last year's runner-up Holger Rune. From tennis to football, Inform Arsenal will be seeking to set the record straight when they face Bayern Munich in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinals on Tuesday, but will be wary of a familiar face who simply loves scoring against the Gunners. The last time the two clubs clashed in the competition in 2017, Bayern Munich won both legs of the last 16 tie 5-1, a humiliating outcome that underlined Arsenal's decline. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.